The National Association of Realtors just lost a major lawsuit in Missouri for $1.8 billion.
The National Association of Realtors liable for artificially inflating commissions and awarded plaintiffs $1.8 billion in damages.
But the crazy thing is that they were sued for a common practice that realtors have been doing for over a century. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about the lawsuit and how this could affect the future of buying homes in America.
Now to the class action ruling that could change the way Americans buy and sell homes. A federal jury in Missouri on Tuesday found that the National Association of Realtors liable for artificially inflating commissions and awarded plaintiffs $1.8 billion in damages.
And the crazy thing is this is only a lawsuit in Missouri, so it's only one of the 50 states in America. So now that this has gone through, it's very possible that other states will also join in, and so this lawsuit can go for much more than just $1.8 billion.
CBS's Carter Evans takes a look at what it means for the average consumer.
I think that this is going to drastically lower what commission rates are.
Jared Bright's long legal battle with the real estate industry began when he sold his St. Louis home back in 2017. He was frustrated that he had to pay a commission to the buyer's broker.
So typically what happens when you sell a home in America is you would contact a listing agent to represent you. Now typically listing agents will charge a 5 to 6% commission on the sale of your home. So that means that if you sold your home for $500,000 at a 5% commission, then you would pay your listing agent $25,000. But what's generally practiced is the listing agent will split their commission with the buyer's agent. So by doing it this way, the burden of paying both agents lies on the seller, and the buyer technically doesn't have to pay anything for getting a buyer's agent.
Certainly, I didn't understand why I was paying for someone who I'd never met, will never meet, and wasn't doing anything for me.
And so for the purpose of this lawsuit, they're saying, why does the seller have to pay for the buyer's commission? Why isn't the buyer paying for it? After all, as a seller, I'm never going to meet this agent. And there could be tons of agents, so why should I have to pay these people?
Sellers have to pay the commission in order to have their home included on the Multiple Listing Service, or MLS, a vast property database that feeds into popular sites like Zillow.
So back in the day, you had to be an agent to get all the information about properties that were actually on the market. There weren't these fancy tools like Zillow and Redfin back then, and they would have all this information in these giant binders that would be updated every single week. But nowadays, things are a little bit different, right? You can go on Zillow, you can go on Redfin or Trulia, and do your own shopping. So for the most part, agents are really useful for just walking through the process, making sure the checklist is all good, and helping you do your due diligence because they have more experience in buying and selling houses than you would. But what they said right here, that you have to pay commission to be part of the MLS, now that's not exactly true. There are actually some services out there that will put your property on the MLS for a flat fee, like $1,000 or something like that. So this way you can technically be a for sale by owner, but still have your property on the MLS.
Sound like that radical of a concept. You pay for the person who's working for you.
Bright's attorney Michael Ketchmark brought the class action lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors and some of the largest real estate brokers in the country.
What we proved was the National Association of Realtors has joined in a conspiracy with the two of the largest corporate real estate brokers to use the system to fix prices.
I mean, it's kind of interesting that most realtors will not accept a commission below 5%. Typically, if you work with an agent, you're going to say, I want you at least 5%, maybe 6%, otherwise I won't work with you. And so you can go shopping around and no agent will take your case. So, I mean, is this price fixing or is it just like standardized pricing? I'm not exactly sure. Because as an agent, you can very easily determine your own commissions. You can say, I will list your property for 1%, and then you'll have to pay another 2.5% to the buyer's agent. Again, this is not exactly true. Prices aren't 100% fixed. If you have a friend that's an agent, they may list your property for free. But I think their issue is that the sellers have to pay for the buyer's commission.
Current commission model makes it difficult for sellers and buyers to negotiate lower fees at a time when technology makes it easy for anyone to access real estate listings online. The National Association of Realtors plans to appeal the verdict and says its rules serve in the best interests of consumers.
It's scary and it's daunting, and so we'll see. It's a big shakeup.
LA Realtor Pamela Rich says a shift in fees could put homes out of reach for some. Who could this impact the most?
I think the buyers, although the seller may have some financial relief, the buyer is now the one that's going to absorb the cost for the buyer's fee.
I mean, so the problem here is she's saying that once the sellers stop paying for the buyers will have a hard time finding a representation. But again, is it really that important? I'm not 100% sure. I think as a buyer, you can find representation who does not charge you a percentage of the sale of a home. For example, I've been watching Selling Sunset recently, and there are these awesome women who sell properties in the $10 million space, but a 2.5% commission on a $10 million property is $250,000. Is it really that much harder to sell a $10 million property versus a $5 million property? Because if you sold a $10 million property, you're getting 2 times the commission for literally the same amount of work. So for me, I'm not convinced that a percentage model makes sense for this kind of a job. But then again, that's a whole industry and I'm not the one to stop their practices.
Now, it's unclear if banks will allow buyers to fold those fees into their mortgage loans. Of course, that comes at a time when interest rates are extremely high. Similar class action lawsuits are in the works across the country.
So he was saying that maybe buyers will start to be able to borrow against those fees that they have to pay their agent, especially if the commission is percentage based. Because I know right now, for the most part, buyers have to pay for their closing costs, appraisal, their insurance, all out of their own pocket. You can't finance that part. You can only finance the portion of the actual asset. So that being said, I don't think lenders are going to be financing their agent's fees anytime soon. What this most likely means is as a buyer's agent, you'll probably be taking more fixed commissions. Like maybe you'll start charging for every time you go visit a property, or maybe you won't charge them a percentage of the purchase price. You'll charge them a flat fee, like $5,000 for every home that we help you close. Now, of course, this makes it much more lucrative to be a listing agent than a buyer's agent. I know buyer's agents can often be showing one person 10 plus homes before they finally find one that they really like. But yeah, for this ruling to go through, I can definitely see a lot of sellers wanting to sue the National Association of Realtors as well, because they're like, oh, I can do that? I didn't have to pay 5 or 6%. I could have only paid 2.5 or 3%. Like, hell yeah, I want some money back. And so they'll probably join this lawsuit and they'll probably win. So we'll see. So now that we understand what the lawsuit's about, let's watch a debate between someone who's for NAR and the attorney who's against them.
All right, so what does the ruling mean for the industry at large and maybe what you pay for a home? Where do we go from here? Joining us now on set is Bess Friedman. She is the CEO of Brown Harris Stevens and a member of the National Association of Realtors, and Michael Ketchmark, the lead attorney of that lawsuit representing 500,000 homeowners in Missouri. Bess and Michael, thank you for joining us here. First to you, Michael, what is big settlement here, 1.8, or verdict, I should say, $1.8 billion. First up, where does that money go? Is money going to be kicked back to people who bought homes, or where?
It's going to go to him. He's a lawyer. He probably gets 33%. Congratulations to this guy.
Sure. I mean, we view it as a day of accountability. And I told the jury, this case is simple. It comes down to premises I learned when I was in kindergarten. If you take something that doesn't belong to you, you give it back. The money will be returned to the homeowners that were the victims of this rigged system. It's been going on in our country for about 100 years, and it stops today.
I really wonder, though, how this would work, because it's not like the National Association of Realtors takes that money. Agents pay dues to be part of the National Association of Realtors, but it's like $700 a year. In this case, the money that was quote unquote stolen is money that was paid to the buyer's agent. That buyer's agent got paid for a commission. Like, they got paid to do the work. So you can't just claw that money back anyway. I'm not really sure how this would work out.
And we're going to hold these corporate real estate companies, the National Association of Realtors, accountable for their conduct.
And I understand you are ready or have already filed more lawsuits?
Yeah, the day that the minute that verdict came in, we filed the lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors and these other large corporate real estate companies to bring the same relief nationwide. And we expect the damages in those cases to be in excess of $100 billion. And look, we are wasting right now about $50 billion a year in wealth that's being taken out of the pockets of homeowners and transferred over to these corporate machines that have taken over real estate, and it's got to stop.
The interesting thing is he's saying that the money is being taken out of the homeowners and into these corporate machines like Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, etc. Now, the way that their structure works is they have an agent split model. So as a broker, you have these agents, and these agents work under you. Typically, an agent will receive 80% of the commission and will pay 20% of it to their broker. That's up until they hit a certain cap. So every brokerage is different. But I know back in the Bay Area, the cap was around $120,000 per agent. So as an agent, if you're doing really, really well, you're grossing over $1 million, $2 million a year. After a certain amount, you're not actually kicking money back up to your broker. You just keep the rest for yourself. So it is a very interesting model. In my opinion, I think it's fair. But then again, that's how things were done back in the past. And I think these guys are trying to shake things up.
Are you a corporate machine?
No, we are not. And I can't comment on the lawsuit because it was in Missouri, so I'm not going to talk about that. But what I can say is that the majority of all real estate transactions are done with two agents, a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. And what is being said, I think, is completely untrue. It takes away from the fact that the buyer's agent adds incredible value to the transaction. And so I think the narrative out there, the Wall Street Journal had an article where they referred to NAR as a cartel. It's ridiculous. And I think there's hardworking agents who are out there representing buyers every day, and this totally takes away from that. And I think it's unfortunate. It's the wrong narrative because we work together. It's cooperation. You get the best price when everybody works together.
And I'm sure, Bess, that there's people that obviously you're selling a home, you'd like to pay as little as you could. I mean, everybody wants to pay as little as they can for everything across whatever the asset class is.
That's
for
right.
most people, including myself, I will never buy anything more expensive than my home. This is the most important and complex financial transaction that most of us will
100%.
ever go through.
And for most people, because it's the most expensive thing in their entire lives that they will probably purchase, they only do it 1 or 2 times. So they're not very familiar with how everything works. And yeah, if you're not experienced with it, you can be taken advantage of.
And that's why, you have someone, if you're selling your home, you hire someone to represent you. They're your fiduciary. And also buyers want somebody to represent them, to talk to them about the pros and the cons, the neighborhood, their financing, everything.
Yeah.
So you want to have 2 people, just like you would in a divorce, you want to have 2 people on the side of the transaction. It's the
Well, hopefully
same.
this is more of a marriage than a divorce, Bess.
But it can be a divorce,
So, Michael, is your beef with the NAR? Is it with the compensation structure? Do you think that, and we've talked before, that there shouldn't be a buyer's agent, or if they do, the buyer's agent should not be paid by the seller, because that may be the conflict, and maybe if you're a buyer, you actually pay your buyer's agent?
We got nothing against buyer's agents. I think they're awesome. But the person they should pay for is the person they're working for. What this member of the National Association of Realtors, she just gave away the case. She said you have competitors who are working together. They're colluding together to fix the prices.
I never said
at
colluding.
6%. I mean, that's what's happening. That's what the jury heard 2 weeks of evidence of. We revealed the documents, we revealed the videotapes, we revealed all of the emails. And the CEO of the NAR testified at trial and took the stand, and we exposed him for what he is. It is a cartel.
Okay, so I don't really agree with this lawyer here. I think, he has very powerful language to sway a jury. But really, a buyer's agent is on the buyer's side, and a seller's agent is on the seller's side. But at the end of the day, these 2 people do need to work together to make a deal happen, It's like, hey, there's a little bit of give and pull. Maybe I can increase my offer, but I'll solidify that I'll accept your offer. You know what I mean? So, of course, there's negotiating involved. And these 2 people aren't adversaries. These people aren't, divorce attorneys trying to claw everything from each other's side. It's a working relationship. It's like, hey, we work together. I like the way you work. I know that if I choose this person's offer and he has this agent attached to it, then the deal goes smoothly because I like working with this agent. They are very professional. But it's not like, hey, let's screw over this guy by increasing the price, or hey, let's screw over to this guy by lowering the price. It's not like that. Everyone represents each other. They just come together to create a negotiation so that the deal can get done and everybody can get paid.
Cartel. I take offense at that. It is not a cartel.
I'm sure you do. And I take offense at the fact that
because listen, in Brooklyn for a long time, there was no co-broking. And you know what that does? A disservice to the consumer. What you're saying is really offensive.
And I take America or commissions.
It is not a cartel. I'm just telling you, it is not a cartel.
Can you answer this question for me?
Yes.
Why are the commissions in the United States 2 to 3 times higher than the rest of the industrialized
world? Listen, all commissions are negotiable. You can negotiate them at any time. There's nothing written in stone.
The jury heard videotape evidence that they negotiate from 6%, but they only go up.
So it's pretty funny. I actually kind of agree with his sentiment about how I think it is very difficult. If you don't know anyone in the industry, you're probably gonna be paying 5 or 6%. It's industry standard, and it's something that most people just deal with. However, the fact that you cannot negotiate, that is not true. It is totally possible. If you do know somebody in the industry, or if you work with some agents who are considered, discount agents, some people will list your property for $1,000, do basically nothing but let you put your information online. There are also some people who will list your property for just 1%, and they just do a lot of volume. And again, are they 100% the best? Maybe, maybe not. But again, there are options out there. I think if you talk to enough people, if they like you enough, then maybe they'll give you a discount on their fees. And when it comes to buyer's agents, as it is right now, you can just say, I don't want to pay buyer's agents anything. But the fact is, that means that buyer's agents won't show you property. Buyer's agents still have to feed their families too. And if they see that they're not going to get any commission on this listing, they may not show that property to their their clients. Or they may ask their buyers to pay their commission, but then again, because the buyers see that this property is now more expensive and they have to pay the commission out of their own pocket instead of being able to finance it, then they also may not want to see your property either. So that's actually a thing about, for sale by owner properties. You as an owner can totally just sell your own property. You could put a stick in the ground saying my house is for sale, but you probably won't get as many people coming to it. A lot of people who are buying houses do have a buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent probably won't show your property because they know you're not paying commissions either. So this is a very interesting situation here. I'm surprised that it actually did lose in Missouri, and the National Association of Realtors has to pay $1.8 billion, which is insane. You multiply that by 50, now you have $100 billion. This lawyer and his firm, they're doing very well for themselves. So congrats to them. Now, how will this affect homeownership in the future? Well, I think that if buyer's agents have to be paid by the buyers themselves, then I think most buyers will just not use a buyer's agent. So as it is right now, you can go to an open house, talk to a listing agent, and ask them to represent you. The thought process is the agent will say yes because they know that they can get your commission and the seller's commission. And so maybe somewhere in between, they might be able to negotiate a little bit better on your behalf. Maybe they'll tell the seller, oh, take this guy's offer instead. So it helps you win bids. And this is called being a dual agent. Now, sometimes being a dual agent can be considered unethical because, again, as an agent, you have more to potentially make. So therefore, you might steer your original client towards a worse option. So I think that more of that would go along, where you just go to an open house and whoever's there will be your agent instead of trying to find your own to help look for 10 different houses. So what that means is that most people who are buyer's agents will probably be out of business within 10 years. We'll see. But I mean, as it stands right now, I think a lot of home sellers will jump on this bandwagon and try to get a piece of that money because, $100 million payout is pretty nice. But let me know your thoughts about this lawsuit. Do you think it's justified? Is it ridiculous? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then you definitely want to check out this video over here where I talk about the rise and fall of short-term rentals. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Take care.